feels kind of like here we are again with another round of injuries in the NBA. Some big name injuries as well. So that's going to be a big part of this episode is talking about the impact of these said injuries. Steph Curry going to be one. Anthony Davis is is one for us right now, but in full transparency, we are not sure where that's going to land
Yeah,
yet. He's still
TBD, it
under
just happened.
yeah, he's undergoing the MRI on his foot as of right now. He suffered the injury last night against the Nuggets, a few other ones for Dallas and the Pistons. So we're going to get into all of those today. And another bit of news that we're going to start here with was the NBA renaming their major postseason awards.
Yeah, so this actually it broke a little bit after last episode, and at first I'm like, "Oh man, curse you, NBA gods timing." But no, this actually really worked out. And I mean, I guess I'm a little surprised with the timing, just because the season's already underway. Like you kind of
Yeah,
thought that they would have done this before the season, especially because like so again, some of these they're all in season awards, right? Like it's MVP, it's Rookie of the Year, it's Most Improved. So but no, I mean, I'm just going to run through the list real quick. The MVP is going to be the Michael Jordan Trophy.
which
Go ahead.
do you think that's going to, by the way, put a argument on the Jordan side of the LeBron Jordan legacy arguments?
So my beef with this, and I don't actually have a lot of beef with this. Like, let me be as clear as possible. I understand what the NBA is trying to do here. Like MJ, I think on most people's mountains, MJ is still number one. I think LeBron has made inroads, and I think there are a lot of people who don't incorrectly believe that LeBron is the best player ever. But I think if you asked most people right now, they still have MJ just a tick higher.
Okay.
Um, and by the way, the NBA Finals MVP is still the Bill Russell Trophy. That's not changing at all. It's just more in the vein of that. My beef here, if I was going to have one, is that like you need to having Michael Jordan on one of these trophies makes all the sense in the world, right? And I guess let me finish the list because that'll get into my greater beef
Sure.
if I have one.
Sure.
The Clutch Player of the Year award, which is a new one by the way, is the Jerry West Trophy. That'll be given out for the first time this year. Rookie of the Year is now the Wilt Chamberlain Trophy. The Most Improved Player of the Year is now the George Mikan Trophy. The Defensive Player of the Year is called the Hakeem Olajuwon Trophy, and the Sixth Man of the Year is called the John Havlicek Trophy. Now, I overall I don't really have any beef. All these guys are greats. They're all some of the most influential players to ever play basketball. I think Havlicek was the first massive sixth man that everybody knows about, a Hall of Famer, a star in his own right. I mean, Havlicek won titles in the 70s as
Hmm.
the centerpiece for those Celtics teams, even after Bill Russell and Bob Cousy had retired. But he's the spark off the bench for those decades of Celtics basketball. Wilt Chamberlain being Rookie of the Year, no complaints there. Again, one of the most iconic players ever. I think my beef, if I have one, is it's like I don't know, because I'm twofold on this, because I feel like they should have given, like, you can't give Michael Jordan the Finals MVP, right? Like the Finals MVP trophy, that's what should ideally be named after Michael Jordan. And I get the Bill Russell
Sure.
argument, I really do. Um, but because Bill won 11. And so you're not going to take that away. Like Bill Russell is the other person that you would want there, fine. But it's almost like I don't know where you put MJ, but I just don't like that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is not here. Like, I feel like Kareem is consistently getting, to me, he's the third best player ever, and it's non-negotiable. Like, if you've got
Okay.
MJ 1 and you've got LeBron 2, I've got Kareem at a hard 3. And then that's where the debates start for me personally, like with the 4, 5, 6, etc. I don't know. Like, he won more MVPs than Michael Jordan. Um, I just have a hard time with him not being somewhere on this list. I don't know. And again, it's only 5 awards or 6 awards, excuse me, that they renamed here. And some of them wouldn't make sense. Like Havlicek with the sixth man, I think is perfect. I love Hakeem being the defensive player of the year. Like I think Hakeem Olajuwon is one of, if not the most underrated NBA player ever. Like I love him getting his due here. Um, I don't know. Is it rookie of the year? Maybe you put him in, but then I take Wilt out. Like Wilt is obviously one of those guys too, especially early on and stylistically what he did for the game. I just I don't know. I feel like Kareem should be in here somewhere. And that's where it just feels like that's being erased a little bit. And I guess just maybe I don't like the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar eraser, but like I don't know. Maybe it's MVP, but it just feels like he should be something.
Well, and I think that's kind of whenever you do a list like this, like somebody's going to get left off, you know, like, and so I guess that's kind of like the risk you run when you do something like this. You leave somebody off, and somebody is like, well, what the hell? How are you going to do this? And if they added him, then it would just be the next person on the list for somebody that would say, well, then if they're all here, we need this, and
Yeah.
like it would have been real interesting if they had done an award or a trophy named after LeBron while he's still in the league, like, that would have been wild. I don't think
Yeah.
you can do that. Like, that's you just can't. So,
No, and there aren't any like the clutch player is the only one to add. The only other award
yeah.
that they have named, and I forgot to mention too, is the All-Star MVP is named after Kobe. That's the Kobe Bryant trophy.
They announced that one, like,
Yeah,
didn't
that
they
was
announce
last
that in the
year.
summer? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
last year. Yeah, yeah.
So
And
they
they
did
did
that.
the sportsmanship, the NBA best teammate, the coach of the year, and I think the league's best regular season team trophies. Like, they announced those previously. And so, we have all those. Now, I from a look standpoint of the trophies, right? Like the Jordan one looks dope. He's jumping out. He's holding like the crystal basketball. Like,
Yeah.
that's cool. The rest of them seem like they really honed it in.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say the same thing. And to that token, Michael Jordan actually had a really cool moment when they basically they were gonna make the MVP trophy a silhouette of him, right? And he
Yeah.
said, "Don't actually make it a silhouette of me. I want whoever wins the MVP award to be able to picture themselves on that trophy." That's
Yeah.
pretty dope. That's
Yeah.
a
Well,
real
and
dope
that's
moment of humility for Michael Jordan.
well, and you like that, like if that's their trophy, they want it. You don't
Yeah.
want it to be MJ. Oh, maybe you do, but like, you know what? Then they see themselves in that
If I'm
figure.
hoisting the Michael Jordan trophy as an NBA player, like what else needs to be said at that point? Like if I am a basketball player hoisting something up with anything with Michael Jordan's name on it, then you're right. Like that the fact that you're in that conversation then, I think that
Yeah.
alone is going to have an impact on a lot of these guys. And so,
Yeah.
which I mean, it should. The MVP is a elite category. And that's why I don't have a super beef at the end of the day with Jordan being it. Like, I get the NBA's thinking is that your best all time player is who the MVP award is named after. It's just tough because again, it's more of just like, I wish Kareem was in here somewhere because I think Kareem shouldn't get erased. Like, I think like I
Yeah.
said, to me, he should be in that MJ LeBron conversation probably a lot more than he is.
Yeah, and so then the other trophies, the Jerry West one, it's like a figure of Jerry West doing the jump shot. That's fine. I don't have too much beef with that. But the like Hakeem one looks like the best way to describe it. I wish I could. I actually probably should pull it up, but the best way to describe it is like the crystal is almost like a glass that gets thinner, and the figure that's supposed to be Hakeem is in like a defensive 3-point stance. But it looks like the figure's not trying not to fall down the abyss of the crystal trophy. Like, it's like got his legs pressed against the wall so he doesn't fall. Like, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of that one. I'm also not a fan of the Wilt Chamberlain one. It looks like he's levitating with two basketballs in his hands, like Super Saiyan, Dragon Ball Z, floating in the
Well,
air.
and
Like,
they all look like they're like putting epoxy, right? Like it's like they're encased in
yeah.
ice and
But
you
even
need to
like
melt
the
them to get to the actual trophy.
But even for like the sixth man and most improved, like the figure is in like a shooting motion. Like, there's still something happening where like Wilt's is the figure's just holding two basketballs with the arms outright. But because it looks like it was just kind of frozen in time in that moment, it looks like it's floating up, like I said, like Super Saiyan mode or Jedi levitation going on, and then the Hakeem one looks like he's just trying not to fall down the abyss of the trophy. So
We're
like,
not gonna get into my Dragon Ball Z thoughts, but I finally watched Dragon Ball Z in its entirety for the first time in my life.
wow,
So I get all the Super Saiyan comments now.
fair enough.
I understand what over 9,000 means.
So well, okay, good, because my gamer tag is Squeaky 9000, and it's an homage
Oh, is that
to,
what that's from?
yeah, which
Oh,
is
why
funny
have you never
because,
said that? I knew you were squeaky, but
yeah, Squeaky 9000. But what's funny is because the whole thing is like over 9,000, and my number is 9,000. So if you think about it, I really didn't do the homage right. Like, it should have been 9,001. Then it's over 9,000. But
yeah, but like no one would
you know,
get it then. You know what I mean?
I don't think anybody gets it now. So
Well, you may not be wrong. But if you say 9,000, everybody knows what that is.
get some
Um,
kind of, yeah, they get a
uh,
mention.
I also definitely didn't realize that that wasn't in the original one at all, that that was just in part of the dub. So, like,
Mhm.
that's part of the anyway, we don't like I said, we don't need to dive down that hole. Welcome, everybody, to the Driving Dish NBA podcast. My name is Kevin Rayfuse. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Justin Kuzart.
My tweet today is tweeted hours before the game, but it was still sending when I got out the app. Dot dot dot. Open Twitter at half, and it went through. Dot dot dot. I blame Elon Musk. I
um,
didn't think you could be on your phone at any point during the game, but I guess when you're at halftime, like back in the locker room, you can.
I think you can be. I don't think you're allowed to like
Tweety. Yeah, you can't
yeah,
like.
I don't think they promote that or like are looking for you to do that
Yeah, because like if
necessarily.
I'm following this said player on social media and I see they're at halftime and whatever he was going to tweet before the game comes out at halftime, I'm gonna be like, wait a second, what the hell?
Well, it's probably like I don't know. The thing is, like, it also depends what because I feel like with context, I'd be able to tell. Like, if it's halftime of the game and it's like, man, I'm going to pick my kid up from school. Like, yeah, I would imagine that
Or
they're not
like,
doing that right
or
now.
like, join me live on Warzone today, going live. Here's a link. Like, well,
Right?
maybe
You
that was supposed to
drop it
go
in
out
at
earlier.
halftime. Listen, if you win a battle royale game, it's going to take a half hour. It's going to go longer
Yeah,
than halftime.
yeah, it's more
Unless
than
you just
half.
mop everybody quick. I guess in theory, you could just kill everybody really fast, but that would be something.
That's aggressive. So, do you know
Wait,
who it
so
is?
whose tweet was this?
Do you know who it was?
No, I have no idea.
JaVale McGee.
Okay, all right, there we go.
He probably had time. I feel like he's not playing a ton of minutes for Dallas these days. I'm trying to see. Yeah, I mean,
He may
6
have to
minutes.
now with Kleba out.
Yeah, played 6 minutes the other night against Portland. 2 did not plays. Played against Chicago 17 minutes actually. So that was big numbers for him. But yeah, I mean, he's kind of sparingly used. He had a good run at the beginning of the season, a bit more so. But like you said, I mean, we're going to get into injuries, and that's going to be the Dallas Mavericks are going to be one of the teams we talk about. So,
Yeah, theirs is. It's funny because it happened right before Steph, so it obviously got lost a little bit in context. But Kleba going out's a massive deal for Dallas, and like you said, we're gonna talk a little bit about that. Cade Cunningham too, plus who's balling, who's fallen. Y'all know the drill by now.
mhm.
Leave us a review anywhere on iTunes, good or bad. We will read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Stitcher, anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find us.
And follow us on YouTube. We do a video version of the podcast. If you'd like to watch along or have subscriptions to YouTube, you can find us Drive and Dish NBA podcast.
Now, a word from our sponsors.
So let's start with the Warriors for injuries because I would say Steph Curry is probably the biggest. I didn't really understand the injury from watching the video. Like it looked like I could at first I thought his shoulder got dislocated. I'm going to be
Right.
honest. It was a weird drive that Curry kind of put his arm in to try to poke the ball away. It didn't look like his whole arm got pushed up, but I'm guessing that's what happened just from the momentum of the player going in for the layup. Um, so it's a shoulder injury. He is out indefinitely. I believe the term is left shoulder subluxation, which was suffered Wednesday. Like we said, it's not going to need surgery, so that's good, but still going to be out for a bit while the healing is done. And of course, all over ESPN, all over social media, there's been stats thrown around about Steph and how the team is pretty bad when he's not on the court. The on-off stats is kind of the thing people are focusing on. I think he's like a plus 18 on and off stat this year. Like he is a big part of the offense. I don't think anybody's surprised about that statement, but I see a silver lining here
Do
because,
you?
well, I it's kind of, trying to look at the bright side of it, right? The part of it that I see is we've been talking about we have to have, or the Warriors need the younger guys, the bench, to step up in moments, and they haven't been or hadn't been. So now with Steph out, like it gives them an opportunity to play those guys more, to try to get them more acclimated and ready for Steph for when Steph's back. Depending on how long the injury is out. So like maybe there is a little bit of silver lining in like the younger guys that are trying to get acclimated can figure it out more. And the other side of it is Jordan Poole plays a lot of the similar stuff that Steph has. We saw him do it last year. So I don't know. There could be potential for those guys to maybe to get that development that maybe the Warriors need.
Yeah, I mean, that's about the only good way to look at it because I'm completely the opposite right now. I'm looking at this as like the Warriors are currently, as everything stands, out of play-in
Yes.
position right now at 14 and
Oh,
16.
and that's the part is like the pressure of like you don't have time to figure it out, right? Like you
Yeah,
need to win. We need the wins now. So I get it.
and again, it's
But
only a few weeks. Like they gotta find a way to stay afloat. Like that's the biggest thing is you just have to tread water. Like we know what Steph Curry is. We know the level he's been playing at this year. I mean, at an MVP level, like he's been carrying them when they've been putting any games together. With that huge win over Boston last week, namely in the NBA Finals rematch. Like again, Steph Curry, that's part of him being great is that he can do that. They've also just had other injuries as well. Like Andrew Wiggins has missed time, for example. Like obviously a huge starter there. So I mean, you're right. The depth is going to get tested, and I guess I'm just a little more negative on it than you are. It's like that's been
well,
the issue this year, and now they have to replace Steph Curry. Like
yeah.
they weren't getting enough out of them before that happened. Now you've got to try to do the impossible again. You're going to need a lot out of Klay Thompson, and you need a lot out of Jordan Poole, specifically on the scoring front. Um,
And
the
we
younger
talked
guys are going to
about
have to step
how
up. Kuminga's going to have to play a lot of big minutes. Moses Moody's probably going to get back in rotation. They got to somebody has to find a way to get the ball in the basket.
and we talked about Jordan Poole a few maybe a month or two ago about how this season the percentages were down compared to last season. And, looking at his stats now, he was, I mean, the month of December has been good for him from a point standpoint. I mean, he's averaging 24 and a half points per game since the beginning of the month. The percentages are starting to tick up a little bit. And he had a few 30 point, he had a 36-point game. If I can move this, he had a 36-point game against Utah at the beginning of December. He had a 30-point game against Chicago. He had almost 30 against Philly. That was 2 days ago as of recording this, even though it still resulted in a loss. Shout out to Philly. But still, like Jordan Poole seems to be like, I don't know, like, from a numbers wise, at least for this month, it's starting to tick back towards the right direction. And again, like, even though we're saying the percentages are down, it's not down a ton. Like, he's still from a percentage wise, like at 18 points per game. Last year he was 18 and a half. So really it's like a few off. Percentages wise, the free throws down, like we said. The three-pointer is where we see the most like decrease. He's at 32% this year, but he was up around 36% for the month of December. So like I feel like from like a having to teach somebody how to fill in for Steph while you can never replace Steph, Jordan Poole is a pretty easy, like obvious plug-in in that situation.
No, he is the guy. Like that's what it
Yeah,
all comes. And I mean, even at the end of last season, they had a couple games where Poole had to step up, and he did shoulder the load a little bit. It's just more of just like
the rest.
I I don't know. It's more of just like how well Curry's been playing. I mean, even a guy like Dante DiVincenzo, for example, is another buddy that they brought in that it could maybe step up and give them a little bit of offense. But it's just, I mean, Curry's having one of his best seasons ever. Like 30 points, 6.6 rebounds, 6.8 assists a game. Like he's shooting 66.8 true shooting percentage. Like he is that offense again, and a team that is barely sitting at 500 right now. He's kept them afloat. He's the reason to think that they're still a threat to win this all and that they're going to figure it out. Again, they can survive and they'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. Wiggins is going to be back at practice. again, Wiseman's been not, it's been real up and down to say the
Well, and
least, but like he's going to
he's
be coming
been
back from the G League.
yeah. And
So
I guess from Kerr's, I was watching Kerr's press conference. I think it was after the Sixers game, if I have it correct. But said that they saw some improvement in Wiseman, and they're going to keep him with the Warriors for their road run. So like maybe they saw something they like. Maybe they're seeing some improvement that they're hoping for from Wiseman.
they need it.
But
I mean,
but
like you said,
again,
it's that it would be a massive turn of events if they could get that. Because, like we said, it's staying afloat because they can't.
yeah,
I don't think they can afford to weather a
you
long
can't.
Steph Curry out. Like if Curry's out for a long time, you do run the risk of being in the play-in game. And we saw what happened with them a few years ago. You're in the
Yeah.
play-in game. All it takes is one loss, and your season's over.
Well, and to that, like you said, I mean, like these guys that we're talking about that need to improve, there's very little room to figure it out or improve. They need it immediately so that they don't slip any more than they already are. Like we said, their record is 14 and 16. They're 11th in the Western Conference right now, just above the Lakers. So, it's gotta they don't have the room for error.
And I think there were weirdly encouraging signs against the Sixers. Like, I also think the Sixers in particular against Golden State are a horrible matchup. Like, Embiid has always traditionally done well against them, and they just flat out did it because Draymond didn't play in that game either. So it's like, yeah, at that point, you've got Kevon Looney, and then it gets really thin to guard Joel Embiid. And
Mhm.
even just asking Looney to do that, as great as he is doing all the dirty work for them, like that's a massive task. I just think they ran out of you just see them run out of depth there towards the end, and Embiid did take that game over. Clay was also terrible. Like these are the reasons I think you have to be encouraged. Like Clay just shot the ball horribly.
Mhm.
Even one, I think he only hit, I think maybe like two or three pointers, and one of them was the most wide open shot that I've ever seen to the point where I just started laughing. It was like, how on earth is Clay Thompson ever this wide open in the corner? But
Yeah.
yeah, it was again, it's a tough ask. There's no doubt about it. The other tough ask too, before we get to Anthony Davis, I want to go to I'm going to go to Dallas just because Dallas, I feel like it's kind of in the same situation here in terms of they're in the play-in game. Again, Western Conference Finals matchup last year, Dallas is 15 and 14. They did win last night. As a recording this, a real solid 20-point win over shoot, I just had it in front of me. Hang on. Over Portland last night. They beat them 130 to 110. Luka's been great. We talked about their secondary scoring, but they've lost Maxi Kleba now for 6 to 8 weeks with a hamstring tear. Might have surgery to work on it a little bit, but I mean, Kleba is, we talk about their secondary scoring and everybody brings that up, and Kleba is a solid offensive option, but to me, it's all about their defense. Like he's,
Yeah.
in my opinion, by far their best defensive player on a team that's already 20th in the league overall in defensive rating. That's a tough, like, I don't know where they're going to replace that necessarily right now. Like, that's the bigger concern for me with Dallas. Like, the secondary scoring, it will take a hit, but it can, again, tread water, which is I feel like the theme of this so far. But defensively, they're going to have some questions, and I don't quite know how they're going to be able to just make up for his absence for that long.
Well, and it kind of leans over to 2 players that they brought in that haven't necessarily lived up to the hype, right? With Christian Wood and, they brought in JaVale McGee as well. We already talked about JaVale McGee and how limited he's been playing, and Christian Wood's been mostly doing most of his time at power forward. So, like, you would imagine the on paper answer is like, well, why not put Wood at center? And he's done it a bit, but I wonder if there are some confidence issues in Wood to be able to do that and provide a defensive presence.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think he's more of a four traditionally anyway.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think that him playing five long term is necessarily the answer. Like, I do think
Well,
you're going to see a lot more McGee there, but at the same time, I mean, them destroying Portland the way they did was a good start and kind of putting some of that away.
well, and
Jason
I'll
Kidd's going to have
say
to step up to the task for sure.
Christian Wood is last 2 years in Houston played 100% of his, games as a center. So it's not like he's not used to doing it. You know what I mean? Like he
Yeah,
clearly did it, and so like if that's where he needs to plug in, that's where you need to plug in. Obviously, if
and he was great, and Christian Wood was great last night. Like, he's again
yeah.
32 and 12. Like, yeah, that was they needed him to be that great last night, and he was for them.
So I wonder if maybe that's the way they go with it a little bit, but I don't know. It's again like you were saying, a team that has so little wiggle room to figure it out because you drop 2 games and you're in 12th place. And there's still a lot of season left, but you don't want to be digging yourself back out of a hole, at the second half of the season if you don't have to be. So
No, I
um
mean, this could go south very fast. Like, that's the thing is it's like, we talk about Golden State, but it's like Dallas too. They're 15 and 14. And again, winning last night convincingly over Portland is a real good start to, everyone staying afloat. But this is a team I mean, they're ninth right now. They're a full game at this point behind the Clippers, but the Clippers have two more wins than them, and same with Utah. Again, you got Memphis winning games, you got New Orleans winning games, you got Denver winning games. You want to get out of that play in position because again, we know what can happen if you're in there. Um, this is a really like I don't know. I think they're going to struggle with this heavily. Like, I think Golden State is going to struggle heavily too, but I think you can at least lean on that you may get step back in 2 to 3 weeks. Like, Dallas has to make this work for 6 to 8 without Kleba. Like, it is like that. They need McGee. McGee's got to play well. Like, that's just it. And he hasn't been
mhm.
in the rotation this year. And again, they signed him to a 3-year deal. Like, they brought him in intending to play. This would be a great time for him to step up, like you said, to get back on his feet, get into this rotation. And again, they just got to stay afloat. And he's got to be able to play well defensively. With Anthony Davis, this was against Denver last night, like you said at the beginning of the episode. There's still not really again, he missed the second half of the game. They're doing an MRI on his foot. Still not a lot is known right now. Obviously, in past weeks, it's been about Anthony Davis playing some of the best basketball of his career, and of course, since putting a Lakers jersey on.
Yeah.
Really kind of, and it's crazy because it feels like the whole narrative around the Lakers season has changed, and they're still not doing that much better either, record wise. Like, they're 12
Well, and
and
that's why
16.
Charles Barkley was like, "Why the hell are you making me talk about the Lakers on the halftime
Like,
show?" He said it was a conspiracy.
I get they're 5 and 5 in their last 10, and I get that, Russ has genuinely been better off the bench. And like there have been, and Anthony Davis has been fun to watch. Like, LeBron is still doing LeBron things, but like the team still kind of stinks here. Like, that's the thing is it's like, sure, they're 5 and 5, they're 12 and 16, they're well out of the play in at this point. I did love that segment with Charles Barkley and his just unadulterated glee when he found out that the Lakers aren't going to be on TNT anymore for the rest of the season. Obviously, if Anthony Davis goes down, this could really crater quickly. And the thing is for the Lakers is that it's not even great if it craters. Like, the Lakers don't have that pick; it's going to New Orleans. So, um, not ideal. I think is the only way to. Again, thank God they won a title. Like, it all just comes back to that. Like, no matter
Yeah.
what, at the end of the day, the Anthony Davis, LeBron James run together in LA will never be a failure because they won a championship. Like, you just can't take that away. But thank God, thank God they won a championship because they have pretty much done everything wrong since. And unfortunately, like, if Davis just can't stay healthy, I mean, him playing at the level he's been playing at, that would be reasons to think that they can maybe sneak into the play-in game. Because they need him with the way this roster is built. Like, he has to be playing at that level essentially.
Well, and something that's also concerning is like you look at the team stats in the NBA, you look for defensive rebounds. Is like the Lakers are in the top of the league. Only the Bucks are better defensive rebounding team than the Lakers, and a lot of that comes down to Anthony Davis, who is pulling in 12 total rebounds a game, and you lose that. I will say in the game that they went down against. Or that he went down, I should say, against the Nuggets. They had Damian Jones and Thomas Bryant come in, and Bryant played pretty well. So maybe there's something there, but it's kind of the theme of the last two teams. You don't have any wiggle room. You really don't have any wiggle room with the Lakers, and it's going to be a problem if Davis misses significant time. Again, even if they're winning, you imagine a lot of the scoring load, a lot of the minutes are put on LeBron, who's getting older, and you don't want to be doing that. You have Westbrook, but every time I go to a Lakers fan site or a Lakers sports page, we're talking about rumors for trades and Kuzma's being thrown around, and we're talking about Miles Turner, and so like it's just not great vibes right now um, for Anthony Davis. So or the Lakers, I should say, and so we're hoping. I think all of Lakers Nation is holding their breath that this MRI comes back negative and everybody's good to go because again, I know injuries like he played on it for a little bit. Like he was definitely uncomfortable, but he played on it for a few minutes before they pulled him out. So like I don't know, part of that's trying to give me a little bit of hope that it's not. Because he was kind of showing that he was back into his old form
It's what you've been
defensively.
waiting for. Like, it's the thing with
Yeah.
Anthony Davis, again, it really is fitting that his Lakers like, it's such an enigma with Anthony Davis, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think of how to word this because Anthony Davis has so much potential and is so gifted at the game of basketball, and he's unquestionably good. Like, he's been an All-NBA player, a multiple-time All-Star, won a title with the Lakers, but it always has felt like with Anthony Davis's career that, at least in my eyes, that there's just been more meat on the bone. Like, it feels like Anthony Davis should be up there with Giannis right now, in my opinion. Like, he is that type of potential where it's like, you should be just world destroying, and he's not. Like, he's
Yeah.
still really, really good. So that's what I mean. Like, I don't want to downplay that and be like, oh, Anthony Davis is a like failure or anything like that. That's ridiculous. No one would ever say that, nor should they ever say that. But and part of it is injuries too. He's dealt with a ton of them. Like, there's just no question about that. Like, he's an injury prone player at this point, but it does when he's healthy, it feels like there's always something missing. This stretch that he was playing with the Lakers, that's where it didn't feel like it was something was missing. It was like, no, this is Anthony Davis. Like, you are potentially the best player in the league. Like, go be it.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I completely agree. And like we were saying, like his defense was starting to get there. He was in the 96th percentile for defense in the league. Opponents were shooting 5.7% worse on field goal attempts when AD was defending them. Like we were starting to see it again. That was kind of what we expect from him. And so it really does suck to see kind of like a setback in a
Well, you
way.
just hope it's not a big deal at the end of the
Yeah.
day. And like you say, 'cause it's the only thing that makes the Lakers
We're
watchable. If not,
just
good luck.
We're just waiting for that Woj tweet. I don't see anything yet, but
Yeah,
we're
and we
we're
hopefully,
waiting
like
on
we
it.
said, maybe they'll
Breaking
shine on
news,
us a
we're
little
we're
bit here
trying.
today.
We're
Yeah.
trying to break some news here. Although Woj did tweet, what did he say? A source familiar with Anthony Davis's injury told ESPN the Lakers big man is experiencing discomfort in his right foot, but there's hope Davis did not suffer anything severe. He's going under. Okay, that's the MRI tweet.
Alright, cool. Well, that
So,
would be yeah, so that would be an ideal situation. That's nothing severe. Miss a game or 2.
mhm.
Not really the end well, they need to start winning some games, but
Even those game or two, like they need those
no,
wins.
they do.
So
You're right. They need to
and
win
who do
some
they
games.
hold on, what's their schedule? Lakers, schedule, hold on, because that also could be a big part of it. I mean, they play the Wizards tomorrow. They play the Suns December 19th, Kings 21st, Hornets 23rd, and then, Christmas, they play the Mavericks. So, I mean, some of those should be potentially winnable, but again, I'm saying that as the Lakers pretty much have the same record as some of those teams, so
I don't
it's kinda hard.
sports bet, but I wish I had hammered the Kings making the playoffs this year.
Mm.
I feel like that was free money in hindsight, and I really, really don't wanna jinx them because I think the Beam Team vibes are great right now,
Yeah,
but
Beam
I,
team. And we gave him so much crap for that beam. We remember we did a
it
whole we
was
did
it
a
was
whole
it was
we did
stupid
a
at
whole
first, but then
announcer segment.
no, it did. I didn't like it at all at first. I thought it was ridiculous, but like the way that everybody's
Beam
embraced
team.
it, and then just
Yeah.
kind of beam team becoming, I've done a 180 on it. I for
So
sure like it now.
if you're the Lakers, realistically, by Christmas, from now to Christmas, right? They play the Wizards tomorrow, Suns Monday, Kings Wednesday, Hornets Friday, Mavericks on Christmas Day. And then they play
That
the
Mavs
Mag
game is gonna
hold on.
be is
Hold on.
hella interesting on the low.
And then they play the Magic on the 27th. So in those 6 games, realistically, I think you can say they hopefully get 3 of those, if they can get 3 of those and Anthony Davis is out for those, I would say, okay, I'm okay with that. Like, we can live with that. You got 3. I kind of expect a loss to the Suns, the Kings. I think the Mavericks right now is a toss up. That'll be a fun one. I think it's
Yeah,
really gonna be a fun one
that's
on
their
Christmas
talk. They
Day.
should beat the Hornets. They should beat
Yeah, but I mean, we say that, and they have the same record, don't
Oh,
they?
I agree. I don't think the Lakers should beat anybody necessarily. Like, I don't
No,
think we
Hornets
should
are
be
worse.
giving
Yeah,
the Lakers that much credit, but I'm saying I think they can beat the Hornets. And then who is the first one on that schedule?
Wizards.
They
They
can. The
they,
Wizards
they
are
should.
slumping bad right now, so like
Wizards
they
on an 8-game
should.
losing streak. Yeah,
But that's also, but to that point, that's a prime game for the Wizards to snap their losing
yeah.
streak. You know what I mean? Like, I'm right there with the Lakers don't have a guaranteed win against anybody right now. They're
No.
12 and 16. Like, I don't think we should be giving them that much credit.
No, but I'll say you like Lakers fans. I know this is way different and way we're in a whole new mindset from past years. But at this point, we're if you get 3, if you get Wizards, Hornets, and you can pull off the Magic one as well, I think you're feeling good about it. And then the toss up against the Mavericks, that could be real good. If you get those 4, I've already kind of written off the Kings and Suns, but we'll see.
I'm playing my like world's smallest violin right now for the
Yeah.
Lakers fans. Oh, those
Yeah.
poor long-suffering Lakers fans. All right, who's balling, who's falling? Our NBA version of the stock market. We always like start with the good before the bad. And so for balling for me this week, I got Orlando. I'm going a little, alternate hometown
Bol
bias
Bol
here. Magic.
specifically?
I
Bol
mean,
Bol
it could have
specifically?
been Bol. Honestly, it could be Bol specifically the way he's going. And I was going to mention that, but they won 5 in a row. Most notably, impressively capped by a win over the Boston Celtics last night. The
Which will
juggernaut
come up.
Boston Celtics. Like,
Yeah.
wow, you can't get much more impressive than that.
And not only that, you got Al Horford so worked up that he got ejected.
Yeah, that's wild. That's a wild belief. But it's also it is remarkable, number one, just like what they've been able to do since getting just a little bit of competent play back, like especially on the guard front. But I mean, having Markelle Fultz back, getting Cole Anthony a little. I mean, they're still been missing time from him, but getting Cole Anthony back for a little bit. Jalen Suggs is playing here, but I mean, yeah, it's a team effort from everybody. It's Banchero being as good as hyped, averaging 21 points a game as a rookie. Franz Wagner has continued his excellent play from Eurobasket. Like, he's the guy who, I mean, he's really been their steadying guy all season long. It's 30 games played. He's the only one I think who's played all of them. And Bol, man, like he has Bol has been a massive steady for. I mean, he's made people completely forget that Mo Bamba exists. Like,
Yeah.
he's been, because it's Bol and Wendell Carter at this point. Bol was a throw-in. Like, the fact that he couldn't work in Denver at all, like, that's a place where, I mean, obviously they've developed extremely well here over the past few years. I mean, he was essentially on the scrap heap. Like, I don't think, I mean, most of us, I think, when Bol got traded, it was just kind of like, oh, that's fun. It's a shame he never really turned out, because he's, obviously, like, measurement wise, you can't, the dude's just huge.
Yeah.
12 points, 7 rebounds a game for this Magic team. Are you kidding me? Like, he's been electric. Like, he has been a massive part of this. And you're absolutely right. He is worthy of his own balling and falling,
I
or
was gonna
balling, I
say
should say,
specifically for
but
just being on ESPN with that half court through the legs spin move Euro step dunk thing that he did. Like, it was like, what the hell just happened here? But he showed off how he got some hype on him. So I'm excited for him, man. And it definitely feels like the Magic. It's a different formula this year from the standpoint of, I always felt like if you were to generalize a Magic season, they would come out hot first 3 weeks, top tier of the NBA, and then everybody get hurt, and then they'd be at the
yeah.
bottom. Whereas this
Also,
year, like, they started towards the bottom, and
because
they're
everybody was hurt. That's the thing. Is it just
right.
flipped? You're right. I mean, we kind of went into the season. It was them in Detroit, and we'll unfortunately get into Detroit's injuries in a little bit. But it was
Mhm.
those two that you thought maybe could start to string some games together with their young guys. And I mean, it's been a rough go of it. It's been a lot of injuries. I mean, the Magic were getting killed in a lot of these games, and were borderline unwatchable in some of them. But I mean, really, since the start of this, it was December 7th. They won that overtime game against the Clippers, 116 to 111. And I mean, since then, it does. It seems like it's flipped. They beat home and home with Toronto, super impressive, beating Atlanta, beating Boston in Boston. Now, again, they've got Boston again. So, it doesn't exactly get easier. Another one with Atlanta. And then Houston Spurs, Lakers, Pistons. Like then you could see them like that stretch around Christmas. That's 4 winnable games for the Magic potentially. You just love to see the guys starting to gel together.
But don't
Like it looks
forget,
like that core is starting to string together some games. Like it
well,
looks like again they're onto something.
and don't forget though, we just talked about it from the other angle. Like those Lakers are going to be in desperate needs of those wins, so they're not going to be an easy game. And we know, it's never an easy game when you're going up against LeBron, but that's going to be a tough one. And that leads me right to my ball-in. I have two. My first one is LeBron James.
Okay.
He's getting hella close to Kareem's scoring title.
He is. He's
which
really
is
close.
38,387. Braun is at 37,622. So we are officially on 765 points away. We are on point watch from LeBron James. His scoring again has taken a bit of an uptick. And we've already gone through. We don't need to go for like the sixth time the Lakers next few games, but it would be. I don't think there's any scenario where he could make it happen because he'd have to. No, it won't. It won't.
No, he's
Could
gonna
you
break
imagine?
it this year.
No. But could you imagine if he did it on Christmas?
Oh, it'd be insane.
It's not going to
It'd be
happen.
absolutely insane.
But like, there's no way. I mean, it's 5 games from now. Like he's not. You can't. You're not dropping. That would be some kind
How
of
many
feat.
points is he off it right now?
765.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. that would be so. I'll tell you what. He does that in the next 5 games.
Holy moly! They're winning
change the
every game.
MVP. Then change the MVP. Just strip the MVP Michael Jordan one and put it right to LeBron.
Well, you
if you
saw,
pull
by the
that
way,
off in 5 games.
By the way, I saw a little bit of Zion starting to creep up into those MVP
No,
talks.
listen. No, I'm here for it, Justin. If we want to have it, look, I'm here, bro. Do we want to talk about this? Because my group chat's been asking me if the Pelicans are good, and I've been beating the Pelicans drum all week long. Zion should be creeping up those MVP rankings. That man is hooping. The Pelicans are hooping, and listen, there's aren't enough good things I could say about them in the way that they built this team with how well they drafted, with going out in that seat. Like CJ McCollum trade, like I'll eat some crow there. I was wrong. I thought it was just like a save David Griffin's job type deal. They maybe start winning some games. He's been everything they've needed and more.
And I have to eat some crow because last episode I gave Zion a hard time for the windmill dunk, and I said the Suns were going to come back and stick it to them. They did force an overtime game, but the Pelicans still won that game. But a tradition like no other. They play the Suns again tonight as of recording this podcast.
Why? Who
I don't
scheduled
know,
that?
They got 3 Pelicans. So they went, listen to this. Pelicans, okay, so they played the Suns December 9th, right? They played the Suns December 11th. They played the Jazz December 13th. They played the Jazz December 15th. Now they play the Suns today. They've played 2 teams in the last...
Are they just on a Southwestern tour right now? Like, what's going on?
I don't even know, man. I guess they just said,
That's
let's just fit them all in while we're out there. But my other ball-in is you. I don't think we've brought up your life achievement.
Oh. I'm like, what the hell did I do?
Oh, you want to tell the people what you did?
Oh, yeah. I mean, do you want to tell them? I feel like this is your ball, and I don't want to steal your moment.
Oh, no. I laid it. This is like I threw the ball up. You need to dunk it now.
Oh,
like,
you want me to dunk it? Oh, and this is even about surviving law school. No, I got engaged last weekend, or not 2 weekends ago. Now, I guess. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I proposed. I am a fiance officially.
Does it feel any different to be a fiance?
Not a ton, but a little bit. It does for sure. Like it's in a good way though. I don't know. Like I'm not gonna lie. I'm happy as hell about it. Like I'm not gonna,
of course.
I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Like it's a lot of fun. It's like I hope that everybody feels that way when they propose.
You would hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, no, it's crazy because my plan went completely off the rails. So we were and I'm a psychopath for doing this during law school finals, by the way. Like complete psychopath. But so I'm up there, like we went to New York City because I was going to do it originally because, we're up here from Florida now, like back in the Northeast. We haven't had like a real fall like that. Like Jacksonville, you get it a little bit, but Orlando, you obviously just don't at all. It's wet and dry. Those are the 2 seasons. And so I was going to do it all fall based and stuff like that. The ring just took a little longer. And I'm telling you, like a switch flipped and all the leaves died at once. And so I was just like, okay, gonna bail
Great.
on that plan, not gonna
Yeah.
punt it for a whole other year. So no, we just went up to New York. I was gonna propose on this place called the Edge. It's in Hudson Yards, right? It's just like one of those big sky deck things. It had rained, so they closed it down.
Mm,
So yeah, I had to really adjust on the fly. So I had to go back to the whiteboard, draw up a new play. Thank God all the Christmas stuff is up, man. That definitely helped me out a little bit. Made it a little bit easier to make it happen.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I remember trying to plan mine, and it never goes as planned. And in your head, you're thinking of how all the things you're gonna say and all this stuff, and then the second they react to realizing what you're doing, all that goes gone. Like that, it's all gone. So I also got into a car crash the day of mine. So
Jesus, wait, I forgot about. Oh my God, I forgot about. That's way worse than bro. That's way worse than mine. Like mine was like, oh no, I have to go figure out how to do it in the Christmas village instead of on the roof when I. Because if anything, I was just like, we the part of our planet because we went to the Museum of Modern Art and so like
yeah,
we spent a couple hours at MoMA and that part was fine. And then it was just like
you just had a whole day of like in New York with a ring burning a hole in your pocket.
yeah, no. Oh no, I
Oof.
listen, I gotta give myself some credit. I planned the heck out of it. We went to this French restaurant
Ooh.
afterwards. We met up with a couple of our
Okay.
college
Okay.
friends. Like, no,
Okay.
I'm and I haven't actually it's crazy. So it's so funny and all that. I haven't posted it on social media yet.
Well,
So
that's
like
why I
the
haven't said
so the
anything.
so the podcast can eat first. Like it's not a secret. Like we have to and I think we're gonna take a picture later today. Like that's just better. And that's when I'll post something because everybody like my family knows everyone that is important knows, and y'all are important as well if you're listening to this podcast. So you all know now.
Well, and
Um,
that's a big part of stuff going forward in general is making sure nobody gets, for lack of a better explanation, butthurt over finding out about your life update from social media.
yeah,
Like you
it's been
have to
2
like
weeks
cover
now.
your
I'm
bases.
yeah, I gotta make sure we talk to everybody. I didn't even think about it. Like,
Yeah.
you can't see them in pictures that I posted on Instagram, but like she's got the ring on in her finger and a couple of them
Mhm.
with the college pics, like or with our college friends and stuff like that. But no, I greatly appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. I'm excited. I have no idea when we're getting married, full disclosure. Like it's not gonna be for another year at least.
Mhm.
Um, you think the Aussies would fly in if I invite them?
Listen, if you do it during like, think about it this way.
It's
If you
opposite down there, so I would say, yeah, they might,
no, no,
might get the
no,
little season change.
but I'm thinking, yeah, like, are you guys thinking spring wedding, summer wedding? Like,
I have no
what's
idea.
so like again, this would be specifically for the podcast listeners that could potentially fly in. What if you made it worth it for them? Like we find out where the All-Star game is that year, and you have the wedding in that
Yeah, yeah.
city
Let me tell
at the
you,
week
you really
of.
want me to have the shortest wedding ever, huh? Y'all just want to be divorced, babe. Let's get married around Las Vegas Summer League.
Dude,
Actually, Vegas
yo,
might be a place where it'd be funny because Vegas at least has like the
you could do the
tradition
whole
with it.
thing. You
But
get married by Elvis out there, so
that would actually see that. I honestly that'd be better than a lot of other wedding options that are out there. So
yeah, it's good luck. It's the wedding planning is probably it's gonna make you question a lot of stuff. You're gonna be like, "What?" Dude, I was like, "Is my family insane?" I'm pretty sure my family's insane now. So you'll get to go through those motions soon enough, and I'm
yeah,
sure you'll enjoy every second of it.
real soon. All right. Who is fallen for you this week? Because my fallen is really sad, so I don't want to pivot yet. Or not really sad, but it's sad. So like I don't want to pivot on that note. It's a little weird.
So my fallen is going to the Milwaukee Bucks, who got absolutely worked by the Memphis Grizzlies. Gave up 47 points to the Grizz in the third quarter. Everybody was doing the wave on the bench. It was all over ESPN. The official end game result was 101 to 142. And this is one of those sneaky potential. We might see it in a finals one day. It might not be this year, but like a Giannis matchup could be in our future.
It could be. Hey man, it could be this year. Listen, Milwaukee's right there. We know what that
True,
is. Memphis #1 in the West as a recording this podcast. Like
true.
definitely not sleeping on the Grizz. They got the
And
experience.
And man, the Grizz went off. Like Dylan Brooks had 18 points. John Morant had a triple double, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 25 points. We had Zaire Williams with 11 points, Tyus Jones with 15, Brandon Clark with 12. Like, dude, they went off. And to that, Giannis was held under 20 points. Bobby Portis had 19. And really, I mean, Chris Middleton, pretty low, 3 points in 22 minutes. Uh, After that, you're really starting to grasp at players that had some points in that game. So, like, I don't know if the Grizzlies figured something out, but it sure looks like they figured something out.
I mean, they've been playing well all year. Like it's the fact that again they were able to survive because Jaren Jackson is still kind of easing himself back in off injury too. And he's been phenomenal defensively. But like for example, he only played 13 minutes the other night. Um,
And I know, by the way, I know the Bucks fans are gonna say that Holiday was out and fine, like he's out with a sickness, so like maybe that changes some things, but still, man, got
Oh,
worked.
like it's one game. This isn't a grand statement or anything like that. I mean, they just all played horrible. Pretty much.
I
I mean,
don't
Chris
think it's a bit
Middleton
of
was
a
1 of 12,
statement.
like you said. Brooke
Yeah, that's
Lopez
what I'm
had 4 points. Like,
saying. It's a statement.
I'm not making a statement out of them
Statement.
all having their worst game ever. I mean, if they're
When
maybe for
when yours
Memphis, it is.
when yeah, that's what I mean. When you're the Grizzlies and your starters are on the bench at the end of the game doing the wave with the crowd, like, yo.
No, they're nine. Memphis is 19-9. They're good. Like they're
Yeah,
at top of the West. Like
yeah.
it's. I don't know. Memphis. If Memphis is still surprising you, I don't really know where you've been for the last 3 years. It's kind of
No,
one of
but
those
I
things.
think blowing out the Bucks with that many, like, points,
It's a big
that's
win
the
for
part
sure.
that was like, "Whoa." Yeah, it came
I
out of
think
nowhere.
The Bucks have a couple of offensive issues they got to figure out too. Like it's been a lot, and again, Chris has been out, so it's been tough to fully get a gauge on it. But like Giannis is one of the heaviest usage ratings ever, like in any season, and I don't. That's not sustainable to me against Boston, especially if they end up matching up against Boston in the ECF. Um, it might be
And
a little bit
and
of a struggle.
and, I know Chris Middleton's been working his way back, so we'll see where that ends up, and against Golden State, had 20 points, the night or, 2 nights before Memphis, but, like, I feel like we've been saying the, like, once they're healthy thing for the Bucks now, like, most of last season, and now we're continuing it into this season, and I know it's still the same injury that we're waiting on, but, like, at what point are we gonna be like, "Okay, come on," you know?
Y- Well, yeah, I think if it's like this in March, then
Yeah,
I'm worried about it. I guess that's my
okay.
thing. Is like again, it's December 17th. Like
Yeah,
I'm not worried about the Bucks in December 17th.
no,
Like we're getting close. Like I always do. Like I say, after Christmas is when you start to take it real a little bit. Like there's no faking the funk anymore after Christmas. Like that,
yeah,
those warm up and shaking the rust off excuses start to run out a little bit. But I mean, even when Milwaukee's down, they're 20-8 right now. Like Milwaukee's fine. I'm not too
yeah,
worried about it.
I agree.
Fallen for me is Paul Silas. Rest in peace. Passed away. Obviously, the father of current Houston coach Steven Silas. But Paul Silas, a hoops legend in his own right. He's in the College Basketball Hall of Fame, a three-time NBA champion, two-time All-Star in 1972 and 1975, two-time All Defensive First Team in 75 and 76, three-time All Defensive Second Team. Played from 1964 to 1980 for the Hawks, the Suns, the Celtics, the Nuggets, and the Sonics. Also coached for a long time as well, 1980 all the way up to 2012. Head coaching stints with Charlotte from 1999 to 2002, and then staying with the Hornets one more year, their first year in New Orleans. The Cavaliers from '03 to '05, and the Bobcats from 2010 to 2012. Passed away. He was born in 1943, 79 years old. So again, rest in peace to Paul Silas. His picture in 1977, by the way, if you want to see a great afro, you can look at Paul. It's
Ball and afro.
very 70s. Yeah, it definitely fits. And like we said, two titles with Boston, one with Seattle as well. He's part of that Seattle team that won in the 70s. So
I was trying
definitely
to pull
rest in.
up, because he played, okay, 68, there it is, that's what I was trying to figure out, because you said played for the Hawks,
Mhm.
and he did play for the Hawks, but the Hawks in 2 different cities when he
Yeah,
was
he
St.
did. He was a
Louis.
St. Louis Hawk. Yep. Yep.
I was trying to figure out what year it was that they changed, if he was there when they changed, and they did. They moved in '68.
He also coached
That's
the
what.
Clippers in San Diego from 80 to
Oh,
83. That was his
interesting.
first coaching gig. Yep.
And dude, it was so weird. Like I saw STL and I was like, STL? And then in basketball reference for like a behind the scenes thing, like when you click on STL, it just takes you to the Hawks, like Atlanta. So I was like, what the is going on? so it took me a second to figure that out. But yeah, a long career, and sad you would never want to have to talk about someone passing away, but um still always good to go back and look at the stats and remember the player or the coach or however you want to remember the person.
Yeah, he had a great legacy for sure. Like, it definitely a
100%.
great basketball. Like, and obviously, that will be continued by his son. So,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
who returned to the bench since all that has happened. But let's switch over now to the Eastern Conference. Again, unfortunately, because you're right, at top of the episode, it's been a lot of like not recently, but I feel like 2 of our last 4 episodes, including this one, have been a little bit more injury themed.
I'm
And
probably just naming the title "Everybody's Injured."
yeah, I mean, it's pretty close. Like, and it's the fact that it's notable star players. And
But what's
specifically,
interesting is it's, for the most part, notable star players on teams that are underperforming.
mhm,
Right? Like, you think about it, like Curry, the Warriors, 14-6, Anthony Davis, the Lakers, although we kind of probably thought they were gonna be right here.
yeah,
But with LeBron, your expectations are always higher. And it's not the star for the Mavericks, obviously, that's Luka, but still a player on the Mavericks who are 15-4. With how much we talk about them, you'd think they'd be the best damn team in the West. So, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
there is a little bit of that going on because you don't hear about the big name injuries on the Grizzlies, the Pelicans, the Nuggets, the Celtics, the Bucks. Although we did just talk about Chris Middleton, but still, like Cavs, like we aren't talking about the injuries on the good teams at the top.
No, and I mean, it, well, I mean, I guess Steph is the defending champion, but I get what you're saying.
But they're down,
Um,
like their record shows. I mean, they're in 11th,
no, I know.
technically in the West. Like
Well,
I
and I
don't
mean,
know.
this one's not going to help either. I mean, Detroit's all down at the bottom, but I mean, you're losing Cade Cunningham now for the entire year. He's having
Yeah.
shin surgery. I mean, he hasn't played in 17 games at this point either. Um,
Which
yeah,
is which is what I was like. They updated the Woj, I believe, tweeted about the injury or the season-ending surgery on his shin, December 12th,
yeah,
and I was like, "Dang, he hasn't played since November 11th. Like it's been
yeah.
like what took you so damn long?"
Well, I think
And
I think it
yeah,
was testing it. I mean, that's
mhm,
the obviously you try to sit it out, you see if you can go of it. I don't think he wants to sit out the entire season. I think the reason if you believe the report, well, there's no reason not to believe the reports in this case. The reason that he
right,
got the surgery now is so that he can be ready to go back for training camp at this time next
yeah,
year, so
yeah,
that he can be just hit the ground running, get back with his teammates. Obviously, for Detroit, in the short term, this means that this season, welcome to the Victor Wembanyama race. We are firing up the tanks and trying to get to the bottom, which there is a very high chance that they do now without Cade Cunningham. I mean, in the short term absence, you're going to see a lot more Killian Hayes, which you've already started to. And he's played well. Like he's actually stepped up. That's an encouraging sign for Detroit. You're going to see a lot more Jaden Ivey, who they took at 5, which is good as well. Like he's somebody that they should be
get
featuring
the
and trying to
development,
grow.
yeah.
Um, realistically, now I think they're just somebody to watch at the trade deadline. Like I was a little surprised that they're already trying to move on from Sadiq Bey. Like I thought Bey was kind of part of their future a little bit. He's still a bit younger. If they decide to move on from him, I think there should be a lot of people knocking. The more intriguing ones are the vets that they have, right? I mean, specifically Bogdanovich. We talked about bringing Bogdanovich in as a a mentor for these guys, a veteran, a good player to have in the locker room. Now I look at it like every contender on earth should be trying to trade for this guy. And if you're Detroit, you're not trying to win games right now. He's only going to help you with that. And then even to a much lesser extent, Nerlens Noel, Alec Burks is there as well. Like I think contenders will come knocking for them. You're not going to get a ton for Noel or Burks, but like guys will take a flyer on them. You'll be able to bring a
Mhm,
pick back for Detroit.
yeah.
And again, lower your probable win percentage in the meantime. So I mean, they're going to be right there. I think they have one more win right now than Charlotte does, but yeah, I would expect to see Detroit very close to the bottom as all said is done. Especially because for again, we'll get into Charlotte in a sec, but they're getting some reinforcements a little bit. Like LaMelo, I know has been dealing with it. But like they're going to have LaMelo back more frequently, and then getting Gordon Hayward back as well. But yeah, Detroit is firmly in the Wembanyama sweepstakes at this point.
Yeah, and to the Hornets, like you were talking about with Hayward coming back, we'll start with LaMelo. I mean, 2 games back against Detroit, against Atlanta, had 23 points, 27 points last night against Atlanta. The shooting was pretty much there. I mean, 2 for 3, or I'm sorry, 7 for 13 from 3, 58%. I mean, you'll take that in 32 minutes. Gordon Hayward, like you said, came back. I thought there was going to be more weirdness with that. Remember, his wife was tweeting about the way the teams were handling injuries to his shoulder and all that stuff. So I was wondering how that was going to go. He came back 9 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists in 29 minutes. So at least getting back into it. But again, with these guys, like there's no pressure. To perform, honestly. If they continue losing, I think the Hornets are fine with that because again,
They
you're in
should
the
be.
Wembanyama race. So I think, getting LaMelo back and seeing 23 and 27 points respectively in both of those games back, I think you'll take it. I mean, you'll take it for sure. So,
LaMelo's long-term health is the most important thing for this
right.
team right now. Like that is everything for them. They should not be rushing that ankle injury. You take it slow. I mean, Charlotte's in a weird position too, because I mean, they're another one that could have trades. Like, I don't know what happens with Gordon Hayward. He's a little tougher with the contract, but like, I don't know if I'm a contender, like somebody's got to knock for Terry Rozier, for example, right? Like, I would be absolutely trying
One
to bring him in onto a contending squad.
By the way, I wanted to mention this when we were talking about the Pistons and you were talking about Jaden Ivey coming in. I was just looking at NBA's rookie ladder, weekly update of where they think the rookie of the year is going to land. Like Jaden Ivey on this one, as of 3 days ago, is fifth on their list. You would imagine with more usage, like maybe he kind of starts to pop up that list a little bit more.
What is their order right now currently? I mean, Banchero's 1, and Banchero's by far to me the number 1 right now.
And then
What's their 5?
Benedict from the Pacers
Yep,
is number 2 at
yep,
number 6, and he was taken number 6. Jabari Smith at 3. Keegan Murray 4,
okay,
and then
and
5
then
Jaden
Ivy at
Ivey.
5.
And then
Okay, yeah, that checks.
AJ Griffin, who hit the game winner for the Hawks the other day. I think he has 2 game winners actually, but um he's number 6, and then Jalen Williams from the Thunder's number 7, if anybody's wondering. So I would imagine Jaden Ivey, probably of those people we've talked about, at least from injury, has the most chance to start popping up that list a little bit more. I don't think anybody's,
No one is catching Paulo. Like, let me
yeah, no
be
one,
like,
yeah.
yeah, we don't even need to waste any time with that. Like, you can climb the race for sure and maybe make it interesting, but Paulo, especially if they start winning, but even before they start winning, like he is the real
Paulo's
deal. Like he's
dude,
going to win this Rookie of the Year award.
he's
Or now the Wilt Paulo Banchero is going to win the first Wilt Chamberlain Rookie of the Year
well,
trophy.
and what's wild is you look at it, like, right? So like they put out this rating every single week. His Paulo's season stats: 21.8 points per game, 6.9 rebounds per game, 3.8 assists per game, right? And since I guess this is the last 10 games, if I remember correctly, 22 points per game, 7 rebounds, and a little less assists per game. But you would like it, the numbers are also trending upward as the season goes on. So you would imagine that's just going to kind of cement him in his spot. The last kind of returner, it kind of works with Orlando a little bit, is Robert Williams returned last night when the Celtics played Orlando, and actually Orlando spoiled his return by winning 117 to 109 at TD Garden. Um, first road win, or second road win of the season for the Magic, which is wild when you think about it. And again, like we said, Horford was ejected, so there was a lot of craziness, wildness in the game. But the main thing being Robert Williams, the guy who was the defensive, I don't want to say identity because he didn't win he didn't win the defensive player of the year award. Someone else on that team did. But a big part of their defensive identity last year barring and regardless of the injury, was Robert Williams.
Yeah, when they were historically great, like when they were boasting that all-time defensive rating, it was when Rob was
Yeah.
playing. Like, well, I'm never going to downgrade Marcus Smart's important, but like
Right, right,
it's
right.
very fair to say that Rob is the anchor of that defense. And that's really the scary part for everybody else, right? Is that this Boston team has already had a historically great offense, and they've been missing this guy all year. The good thing with Rob Williams is that again, coming off, because this has been a problem. Like, this is now a lingering issue. And I
Mhm.
think everyone in Boston is holding their breath and saying, hey, we don't want this to become like an Isaiah Thomas situation where this just gets worse and worse and ends up sapping a lot of his career. Like, he, in theory, should be important to them for a long time. But yeah, I mean, the good thing is obviously because they're so good, they can ease him back in. Like, he doesn't need to come in and contribute right away. Like, they can kind of, monitor his minutes, sit him back to backs. And I think that's what we're going to see a lot of early on here. But yeah, I mean, this is a rich get richer type scenario. I mean, we saw what he was doing in the finals last year defensively at 75%, basically. And that
Mhm.
75 may have been generous. He could have been a lot more hurt than that. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
obviously
he looked like, not to hate on the dude, but, like, he looked like he was hurting running
dude, he
up and
couldn't
down
run
that
up
court.
down the floor
Yeah,
some
that's what I
possessions. Like,
mean.
he admitted it. But if anything, like the fact where I'm like, yo, you couldn't walk and you were gutting out some of those possessions and playing the high level of defense that you were playing. Um, yeah, look, I mean, yeah, the Celtics are really good. I mean, I don't really know. I know it's not necessarily the best ending to the episode that you could ask for, but yeah, I mean, this is the number one team in the NBA right now, and they're getting their defensive anchor back. Like, it- they're trying. The Celtics at this point are trying to simulate and get to the playoffs. Like, they're not worried about right now. They're worried about their biggest intriguing thing, if anything, is it's like, is Jason Tatum going to win MVP? That I think is probably their biggest question, if you will, for the rest of the season. That matters for the regular part at least.
You mentioned Isaiah Thomas, so I went to see what his latest tweets were, if he was tweeting about, the Celtics at all, and he was not. His latest tweet is a retweet of, uh, somebody asking who is the best high school player you ever saw play in person, and he said OJ Mayo.
OJ Mayo was a legend in high school, dude. OJ Mayo looked like he was going to be LeBron 2.0. Like, I remember there was because that OJ Mayo was buzzing around the MySpace days, and I remember everybody on MySpace that was into college hoops or high school hoops like that had that clip of his senior night where he gets a wide open on the court, he throws he throws the ball off the glass and dunks. It
Dunks
looks
it,
like an
yeah.
and one mixtape type deal. And I mean, OJ Mayo, I don't want to say OJ Mayo was a bust. Like, he was in the league for a long time.
Oh, here we
Um,
go.
but
I
yeah,
found, oh, no, 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 never mind, this is not what I thought this was gonna be an article from back in the day on OJ
no,
Mayo.
his hype was big for sure. He was, I mean, it never quite translated all the way through college to like get him to that number one pick level. But like, yeah, again, I think OJ Mayo played for over a decade. Like, he was a good NBA player.
Wow, look at this one. So from 2013, Bleacher Report put out an article from 2006 where Michael Jordan schools OJ Mayo at 2006 basketball camp. It's a video.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome. All right, well, there you go.
He didn't play a decade. He only played 7 years. Just kidding.
Only 7?
Yeah, he played 4 seasons with Memphis, one with Dallas, and three with Milwaukee. His best season scoring wise was actually his rookie year. He scored 18 and a half points a game. Um, assist high 4.4 with Dallas. Let me just go to his advanced if we're going to do the dive here real quick. The quick OJ Mayo dive that nobody asked for before we get out of here. His best VORP season was his second one. In 09 and 2010, he had 1.6. His best overall box plus minus was his fourth season, 0.8 with Memphis. Um, you know, solid NBA player. He's cool. Definitely, like, the high school hype was real though, for sure. Like, there's no doubt about it.
Didn't he have a 50-point game at one point? I feel like I remember us talking about him having a
That feels right. He played with Let me see. High scoring game. OJ
He
Mayo.
had to have had a 50 bomb. I
I
feel
know
like
this
he
is right
did.
after it's right. 40. 40 is his high.
40.
He
Okay.
scored 40 twice against the with Dallas against the Rockets in 2012. And with the Grizzlies against the Nuggets in 2009.
His 2007 season for high school, he was McDonald's All-American Nike and played at the Nike Hoop Summit.
Yep.
Dropped 20 points at the Nike Hoop Summit. Was 40% from three. Had 5 turnovers. So I mean, pretty decent stats. I really wanted to go back and find his high school stats, but I'm not able to go back that far. So oh well, we
Yeah.
tried.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening to this episode of the Driving Dish NBA podcast. Appreciate you guys as always. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. We'll read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, we are everywhere else you can find a podcast: Google Play Store, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music. Again, if there's a podcast, we are there.
Yep, and you can find us on YouTube. Just search Drive and Dish NBA on YouTube. We will be there, and you can feel free to subscribe if you are so interested. And we will be back with a Christmas edition, I believe, of some NBA chatter for you in the next coming few days.